Hello and welcome to the interview here on France 24. Our guest today is Louise Mushikiwabo, the Foreign Minister of Rwanda. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.
Paul Kagame, the president of your country, visited France for the first time since 2015. He was received in the Élysée Palace for the first time since 2011. Obviously, the relationship between France and Rwanda has been a rather difficult one. Do you think that today a new chapter is finally and truly opening between those two countries?
Well, I believe that the book of the relationship between France and Rwanda has many chapters. And what is happening today, I think, is yet another chapter where the leaders have very similar ways of looking at relations between countries, particularly the relationship between France and Africa, which is the bigger platform since Rwanda is an African country. And the difficulties between France and Rwanda haven't really gone anywhere, except what we see today, and I think it's also the significance of the visit of the President Kagame here in Paris today, is leaders who want to give another try to the relationship, and you know, as it has happened in the past, it's not going to be easy. But the very important thing we see today is that there are similarities in the way on both sides things appear, and I think it's a good thing.
Do you think that the normalization of relations between France and Rwanda is now a realistic prospect? That is now clearly on the horizon. It hasn't been for a long, long time.
I would try to paraphrase President Macron from the press conference this afternoon, because he said that, you know, it's not a good thing to simplify something as difficult as what has divided Rwanda and France. But he said that he's pragmatic. He wants to pick up cooperation bilaterally and also with the bigger, continent. And so this is what we see today. People on both sides, I think the leadership on both sides are going in with good faith, with trust with each other, and let's take it from here.
I mean, obviously, the past is a big issue. It has been. The French president was not very clear in his commitment to opening the French archives of the period of the genocide. He did say, however, that there would be a kind of commission of academics, historians who would look at it. I mean, we've seen in the past, each country has parliamentary commissions, historian commissions. But would this be new, kind of a joint commission that would allow maybe a common look at this very difficult period?
I don't think it's a bad thing to try and read history from the same side. I don't think that necessarily.
But it would be new.
I don't think that necessarily means that people agree on the reading of history, but it's a good exercise. It was also proposed, I think, a few years back under President Sarkozy at the time, but nothing has moved on that front. But again, the attempts good that have been there in the past perhaps need the bigger goodwill, so to speak, that is needed for both sides to actually sit and talk openly and honestly.
In terms of signs of goodwill, France doesn't have an ambassador in Rwanda since 2015. Do you think that this would be an important gesture, and do you think it's clearly on the near horizon?
On that, again, I would quote the president of this country.
Said it wouldn't happen now.
Yes, because what I think is very important that President Macron said today is that let's not look for quick fixes and let's not look for symbolism where it's probably not. So once countries are on track, once cooperation is back, why not?
And why not a visit maybe by the French president to your country? Next year will be the 25th commemoration of the genocide. There was an incident during the 20th commemoration where France canceled its presence in Rwanda. Would this be something that would appeal to you and maybe to the French authorities, given all the discussions you've had?
I believe, and I think a lot of people in Rwanda believe that a visit by President Macron will be very welcome. We'll be very happy to see him in Rwanda. Did you extend him an
invitation for that?
Yes, the president has extended an invitation. They have met a few times in the last several months, and he's asked him to visit. In fact, he asked that they meet either in Paris or in Kigali. President Kagame is here in Paris today, but I mean, at any time, it doesn't need to be for the 25th anniversary of the genocide, though that would be an important gesture. At any time, I think the President Macron will be very welcome in Rwanda.
President Macron also threw his support behind your candidacy at the head of the Francophonie,
yes,
the organization of French-speaking countries. This obviously is a gesture of goodwill. Some would call it strange because Rwanda has moved away from French and embraced English as the language being taught in school or used in the administration. Why do you think this is happening, and why would you want to head this organization?
Well, first of all, I would be happy to head that organization. It's a challenge professionally, and I also believe that the family that is the Francophonie is a very powerful bloc of countries, and so many more things could happen with this bloc.
But so Rwanda didn't want anything to do with it. Why would you suddenly embrace it and even want to lead it?
Well, let me make an important correction. Rwanda has not moved away from French as a language. Rwanda has added English
has privileged
to the languages that are spoken in Rwanda, and with very good reason, because we are in East Africa. Our economic life, the economic life of the country, is mostly in East Africa, which is English-speaking, but we are also very much with our own heritage in Central Africa, which includes the French language. So I think the fact that we made a decision to make English the medium of instruction has misled many people to believe that we moved away from French. In fact, the majority of Rwandans who speak any foreign language at all are French speakers. And so it's one of the four official languages of the country.
Do you have the support from your African peers for that position?
We are, I think as President Kagame said this afternoon, we see ourselves, Rwanda, and myself as a candidate, as part of the African family in the Francophonie. So we will be reaching out, we will be campaigning properly, we will make sure that the African countries in the organization of the Francophonie support this candidature.
Right. Obviously, you're well aware of the criticism about Rwanda's record on democracy and human rights, and part of the charter of the Francophonie is to uphold those values. Obviously, this means there will be a lot of criticism against Rwanda, and are you prepared to answer this criticism that's very real and comes from many
I think criticism is good. It's good for countries. It helps countries improve. But I also think, not everybody will be happy with this candidature. We were prepared for that. It's not too much of a big deal. It's when people campaign and others are decampaigning, this is the kind of thing that happens. So we are ready to confront that.
Just very quickly, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, your neighbor, your big neighbor, the situation is in flux. Rwanda heads the African Union. Could we imagine maybe the African Union taking a firmer stance on the situation there, namely the fact that Joseph Kabila, the ongoing president, is not supposed to be able to run again? There's a lot of uncertainty.
Well, yes, obviously, this year, Rwanda being the chair of the African Union, we are looking at not just the situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but many other hotspots
Burundi.
on the continent. This is on the working table of President Kagame, obviously. The DRC is an important country for us. It's a neighbor. We have had a difficult history with the DRC.
To say the least.
We have also, in the last several years, had a much more appeased and good relationship. What is important for us, Rwanda, and I believe other neighbors, because we among ourselves as neighbors of the DRC talk to each other, it's important that this country keeps stable. We want stability before anything else in
and
the
Kabila
DRC.
is stability?
Well, that's up to the Congolese to decide.
That's up to the constitution, and it
absolutely,
prevents him from running.
Absolutely. We wish the Congolese well. We want everything to go well. We want elections to go well. But we don't vote in the DRC. We don't make decisions. We can only bring our support as neighbors. And I think it is the same feeling in the African Union. And so whatever the Congolese will think is the right thing to do is what actually is on the minds of many people. And we stand ready to support whatever can bring stability through the DRC.
Foreign Minister Louise Mushikiwabo, thank you very much for being our guest on the France 24 interview. Stay tuned for more news.